Hello there, I'm Gloria Makarenko. So are you ready for summer? It's just around the corner. This is our Vancouver. Coming up, finding it hard to get charged up over cycling? How about an electric bike to give you the push you need? And how much sound should you expect when your neighbors are farmers? We'll hear about a noise complaint in Maple Ridge. And guess what's back this weekend? Playland. Yes, that's right. Playland is open this weekend. The rides, the games, and the food are back at the PNE Fair. But keeping safe during the COVID pandemic is also a top priority. And to tell us all about it, we have Shelley Frost with us, the CEO of the PNE. Shelley, hello there.
Hello, thank you so much for having us today, Gloria.
Now, you know, Playland was initially set to open May 1st. We remember that anticipation.
Yeah.
You had to postpone again.
We did.
Why would you say this is the right time now?
Yeah, I think that there's been a definite shift in people's feelings about where they fall on the continuum of, safety now. I think that our cases have gone down, restrictions are starting to lift. I think people are starting to really see that there are fun, safe alternatives outside, and we're going to definitely provide one of those. We have a lot of safety mechanisms in place with sanitization and social distancing and reduced capacity, and we're ready, willing, and able to give everybody just a fun summer experience in a really safe way.
All right. So do people still have to book ahead so you know how many to
Yeah.
expect, or are there going to be lineups outside?
Yeah, we're asking everybody to buy their ticket online in advance at pne.ca, and you choose a date-specific ticket. That allows us to help control capacity and know how many people that we're going to have in the park on any given day. And yeah, I think it'll help families plan and stuff as well too. We are really glad this year to be able to come back with more rides open, more games open, more food and beverage outlets open than we had last year. So I feel like we're kind of taking steps in the right direction to get back to what I'm going to call almost normal.
Almost normal. That's right. I know we have to temper it. We have to temper it all still at this stage. So what kinds
We
of,
do.
familiar features can people expect this year?
Yeah, we've got some really fun weekend celebrations. We've got, Father's Day. We've got a Dads and Donut celebration. We've got Fridays where we're celebrating grad and schools out. You're going to have all of your favorite rides. We've got the Enterprise back. The Atmosphere and the Beast and your thrill favorites are up and running. We've got some really new fun food items as well, not just our regular mini donuts, but we've got glazed mini donuts now, and some really fun mac and cheese bites. We're introducing some really interesting new hot dog ideas. And so, yeah, we're making it playful and fun and adding some new different things to the agenda.
You had me at mini donuts. I have to say, no, seriously, you just have to do it. You can't walk by
You
that
do.
stand without at least, getting a little package to share with your friends. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
just that intoxicating aroma. I love it. Now, was there a place where you had to draw the line? Something you're not able to do yet because of the current restrictions?
Yeah, the operating costs for a park like ours are quite high. So we've had to limit the number of days that we're open. So right now, starting in June, we're going to be open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And we're also going to be open Friday nights, which will be really fun as, just a more social thing for adults and young teens and stuff to come out. And then as we get deeper into the summer and restrictions continue to lift and we see people continuing to be comfortable, we'll open up on Thursdays and we'll add Saturday nights. So we're not able to open quite every day yet, and we still don't have 100% of our attractions open. We just, operationally, we can't operate with reduced capacity and have absolutely everything open. So we just encourage people to visit our website, pne.ca, to see, all the great things that are open. We've got, I think, 16 family rides and 9 of your favorite thrill attractions open this year, which is more than we had last year. And I think we've got about 8 or 10 games open, which is more than we did last year as well. So looking forward to just giving people a lot of really fun summer activities to do.
No, I understand that you have to take it step by step, and we're still in step one of BC's restart plan. But
Indeed.
what about looking ahead to August and the prospect of opening some form of the actual exhibition, the PNE, this year?
Yeah, we are knee deep in planning for that. We do know that because it's late in the season, we're not going to be able to do an entire fair on the same scale that we would in any other given year. And there's still a lot of things like concerts, which we're not quite able and ready to do yet. But we are absolutely planning a smaller scale fair, and we'll have lots of great family entertainment, more expanded food options, the ability to still ride the rides and stuff during fair time. So we'll have a bit of a scale down, but still have a really fun experience this summer. And we're just going to try and be ready for when restrictions lift for us to be able to expand as much as we can.
How does it feel for you, personally, to be able to be talking about opening up as opposed to shutting down again?
I know it's been such a stressful year for everybody kind of in the entertainment and events industry. And I got to tell you, the spirit of our staff is high. The teams that are, able to come back and, have their part-time jobs in Playland and talking to some of the kids who are saving for school and things like that. It's just, it's absolutely phenomenal to see how much excitement there is. And there's been a complete shift as well. When we look at social media and the responses to people hearing that we're opening now in June, has just been incredibly supportive and very, very positive, and really thrilled to see people are excited to come back out.
I hope it all goes well. All the best to you. Have fun.
Thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you out there.
I'm Tim Lavner. This is our Vancouver.
A Maple Ridge woman is stunned after someone threatened to call the SPCA over her goats being too loud. That's right. The thing is, she lives in a rural area surrounded by farmland. And our Isabel Ragam has more on the bleating concerns.
They're sounds that may be startling to hear in the city, but in the rural community of Wannock in Maple Ridge, this isn't unusual.
Expect that you're going to see and hear and smell all sorts of different things.
It's why Rhiannon McMillan was in disbelief when she received this anonymous letter in her mailbox last week, complaining about her noisy farm animals.
There was a note that said, "Feed your animals or sell them, or we will be calling the SPCA. We can hear them all the way over to our place." I was literally in shock.
McMillan says she specifically moved to Wannock to enjoy the country lifestyle.
Go.
A few kilometers away, Pascal Shaw operates Rainbow Eggs Farm. She also sits on the local agricultural advisory committee.
With the mad rush to buy real estate today, people aren't doing their homework.
As rural communities grow with new residents priced out of the city, she's concerned that some aren't learning about their neighbors before moving.
When they get there, they're surprised to know that there's animals making strange noises, there's strange smells they're not used to, and they're surprised and disappointed.
Few places in Metro Vancouver have grown at a faster rate in the last decade than in the eastern half of Maple Ridge, home of traditionally rural neighborhoods like Wannock and Webster's Corner. According to census data, the population of the southern half of the area increased by 45% from 2006 to 2016. Virtually all of that came from an increase in single detached houses that used to be the site of farmland or forests. While McMillan doesn't know who wrote the complaint, she suspects it's someone relatively new to the area or unfamiliar with the farm lifestyle. The Maple Ridge branch of the SPCA says so far it has not received a formal complaint about the noisy animals. McMillan says if you can get past the smells and sounds,
You might get some free eggs. You never know.
there are advantages to having neighbors with farm animals. Isabel Regam, CBC News, Maple Ridge.
All right, time for one of our favorite features of the program. This is when we get to showcase some of the photographs that have been sent to us by you, our audience. Now, Shelley Thompson captured these two sparrows in her own backyard. Lucky you, Shelley, just lovely. And Serbi Kadia saw this cute little chipmunk on Grouse Mountain. Just adorable, Serbi, thank you. And finally, Warren Lowe spotted this Clydesdale playing in a grassy field in Ashcroft with those beautiful storm clouds in the sky. Wow, what an effect. Warren, thank you so much for sharing that. And do send us more. Get out there with your camera and email your favorite photographs to us, bcphotos@cbc.ca. bcphotos@cbc.ca. Well, the pandemic changed a lot about school for young people right across the province, of course. So, to help keep spirits high, the Vancouver Waldorf School in North Vancouver hatched a plan to bring in chickens. Staff wanted students to build a habitat, care for the creatures, and learn a little bit about responsibility along the way. And we were there to capture move-in day. Just watch.
Here's your new home.
The black and white one is Rosa. The red one is Laverne.
It's one thing to have bees, but chickens? Maybe this will turn out to be farm school or something.
This is the culmination of the grade 3 building project. The idea came up about animal husbandry and even animal therapy. So we decided to try to make it a reality of having chickens at the school. It's just really captured the imagination and the spirit of the children.
I'm really excited. It's really fun. I thought they would be a little smaller.
The kids have done incredible work. We did landscaping, we had to level the ground. They built a retaining wall and smashed big spikes into pieces of wood.
I could help with feeding them and cleaning up their chicken coop and the stuff.
As a teacher, when you've found something that works for the children, the learning all just happens. So that's really been the best part about it from my perspective.
Coming up, ice on Mars. That's what a new paper from Western University suggests. And as Johanna Wagstaffe will explain, it may just be in a very useful place.
It really does seem like we're always looking for ice on Mars. In fact, we've been trying to hone in on if and in what form and how much H2O exists on Mars since the 70s. Now, a team of researchers have found a unique subsurface ice feature in a location that would be optimal for future explorers of the red planet. Now, recent studies have been honing in on a sheet of ice near the equator, using basically the full suite of tools that we keep on acquiring on Mars, the orbiters, the rovers. This new research, working with the Jet Propulsion Lab and Western University, mapped out these features on the surface of Mars on top of that ice sheet. Things like ripples and furrows and valleys and on hillsides, all things that are typical wherever ice flowed downhill. But weirdly, the team found these features in flat areas where gravity wouldn't have been able to help. That left only one possibility.
The only thing that does that on Earth is an ice stream.
So ice streams are what we find beneath Antarctica. While researchers don't know the exact cause of the ice streams, they have inferred that it could be due to a combination of topography under the ice and melting of the ice at different times. So just how much ice is down there? Well, based on previous research that suggested roughly 13,000 to 61,000 cubic kilometers. And the researchers suggest 3.5% to 16% of that is this ice channel. If humans are to truly become interplanetary settlers, we're going to need access to a lot of water. The ice can be used for irrigation, drinking water, as well as rocket fuel. But there's another big takeaway to this study.
Can we tell where ice is from remote sensing alone? Like just looking at the surface, can we tell? Because that's what we're doing on Mars.
So by knowing what to look for on the surface, that may tell us what's happening below the ground. And that helps us both on other planets and here on Earth. And now you're Science Smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet. I'll try to get it answered.
Johanna, thanks very much. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Lately it seems more people have been looking to bikes to help them get around. And for those who don't necessarily want a full workout every ride, electric bikes are making it easier than ever. So here to help you decide if this just might be right for you, we have Jason St with us. He's the General Sales and Service Manager at the Cit-E Cycles store in Langley. Jason, hello there.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing very well. So how would you describe the boost in interest for e-bikes right now?
It has been phenomenal. I mean, e-bikes have been gaining in popularity quite rapidly year over year. But with everybody sort of being locked at home, they're looking for ways to get out and get some exercise. And, e-bikes have just been hugely popular. We've seen just a phenomenal explosion in sales. And then, of course, the other side of that is we've also seen a bit of a shortage of product.
I say, well, it looks like you've got a fair amount of inventory there behind you right now. But can you just describe, I mean, all e-bikes are not created equal. So when someone comes into your store, what are some things that they might be looking for that might steer them in certain directions?
So generally speaking, there's two very, very different classifications of electric bike. There are products that sort of fall towards the more inexpensive. Generally looking at a rear wheel motor, oftentimes we see in our social media feeds, bike brand XYZ, and they're typically selling under $3,000. And they're all going to be very similar format to this, with the rear wheel motor, and typically we'll have some form of a throttle so that you can just sort of hum along and ride the bike almost like a scooter. Bear in mind, they're not scooters. That's a different story entirely, but they're based around sort of an inexpensive, accessible to anybody sort of a platform. And then the other side of that coin, we get into our more mainstream products. Now, these guys, the motor system, rather than being in the rear wheel, we're looking at in the crank, what we would refer to as a mid-drive. So much more modern technology, a lot more efficient. We're consuming on average about half the power, comparatively speaking, to your rear wheel motors, but we're generating an awful lot more torque. Mass is centered, build quality of the motors is certainly quite a bit better. We're looking typically at Chinese-made motor systems on our more inexpensive bikes. Not that that's a bad thing, but it is what it is. But our more modern motor systems are typically Bosch or Shimano. Bros is another wonderful manufacturer. Yamaha has a motor system out in the market as well. So these are quite a bit bigger companies manufacturing these motor systems to just a higher level of quality and efficiency. That's sort of the Coles notes on the two very definitive types of products. Price-wise, we're breaking over around the $3,000 mark. So below that is sort of your more cheap and cheerful. A little more accessible price-wise, and then above that, you're into your more mainstream products.
Oh, I see. So how does it work with the batteries? Do you have to charge them? Do they charge themselves as you're pedaling, or does it depend?
That's a wonderful question. So we actually get asked that almost on a daily basis. The electric systems won't charge while you're pedaling. On some previous generation rear wheel motors, they had what's referred to as regenerative braking. So as you apply the brakes, the motor sort of regenerates a little bit of power and puts it back to the battery. Unfortunately, those systems are hugely inefficient. So we just don't see them much anymore. So it's like a laptop or a cell phone. You plug it in and then you have a finite amount of range available. It can range anywhere for your more inexpensive bikes, 50, 60 kilometers per charge. Then your more mainstream bikes, we're going to start at about 100 to 120 kilometers maximum range and go up from there, depending on the price point and the size of the battery.
How long would it take to charge the battery? Do you need a special outlet or a special connection to do that?
No special outlet required. It's going to come with a little brick. Obviously, every system is going to be, sorry about the phone ring in the background there. Every bike system is going to have its own charge brick, just like your laptop or other products. So you plug one end into the wall and the other end plugs into the battery or into the charge port on the bike. Most of the batteries are removable, so you can take them into the house if it's more convenient to charge it separately. And then you're looking at about 4 to 6 hours average time to charge a battery from dead.
What about rules of the road with so many more e-bikes in our midst? Which lane do they take?
So it's going to come down to your local city bylaw, but generally speaking, the bikes are going to fall under the Motor Vehicle Act. Same with regular bicycles. So you may not be able to ride on sidewalks in your local area. And if you don't have a bike lane, obviously you're going to have to ride on the road. So, you'll have to know your hand signals, just like you do when you take your road test for driving. If you need to take space in the lane, by all means, take space in the lane. Drivers have to give you that distance to safely get around you. And if you're feeling crowded to the curb, take the lane and just continue riding. And then, that's pretty much it.
Well, I really appreciate you're taking us through all of the details. Again, we're seeing a lot more of them on the roads these days, so it's just nice to know what some of the options are. Jason, thank you. Have a great summer.
Thank you, Gloria.
Hi, I'm Lars. I'm visiting Vancouver from Germany, and you are watching our Vancouver.
A lot of events have had to adapt or go online during the pandemic. Fleur de Ville typically brings their colorful sculptures of flowers and the shapes of dresses to Metro Vancouver malls. And this year, they will be on full display along an outdoor trail through the downtown core. Just check it out until June 20th. For more information, go to fleurdeville.com. The Vancouver Chamber Music Society presents the Canadian brother-sister combo of Brian Chang and pianist Sylvie Chang, also known as Chang Squared Duo. The French Impressionist program is free to watch online now until June 13th. For more information, go to vancouverchambermusic.com.
Hey, Grant Lawrence here from CBC Music with an incredibly uplifting new tune that carries a perfect sentiment for our times. It's from a beloved Nova Scotia band called Hillsburn. Now, before I share the highs of that tune with you, a bit of background. I first heard about Hillsburn when they won the regional finals in our Searchlight competition for Canada's Best New Musical Act back in 2015 on the strength of this song.
Red light motel out by the cloud on my face. She says I'm thriving, she can tell by the pace. But I'm sinking farther in the fire.
That is Hillsburn, the band named after a Nova Scotia village of the same name, trivia fans, and that is their song, Farther in the Fire. Now, since that regional championship win in Searchlight, Hillsburn has gone on to have a ton of success, winning Canadian Folk Music Awards and both East Coast and Nova Scotia Music Awards. In fact, since Hillsburn's formation in 2014, they have been nominated for no less than 24 different regional and national music awards, which is amazing. In 2017, Hillsburn edged out heavy favorites like Rhea May and Classified to win the East Coast Music Fans' Choice Video Award for this song.
In the garden as a kid, you're praised for sharing all the tools you need to play. And someone locks the tools away. Lately I can shake this vision. Standing in a mansion, burning bright, and laughing 'cause I like the sight.
Hillsburn there with their award-winning song Run Down. This spring, Hillsburn has returned with an amazingly triumphant album entitled Slipping Away. Now, there's already been a great few singles released from it, but I have to share this one with you. I love the melody, the progression, the feel in this song. And the tune is called Get High. See for yourself how the members achieve that in this great video.
Find you at my door. What's this feeling? What's this feeling I have? What's this feeling? What's this feeling you have? I just wanna get high with you, just like we used to do. I just wanna get high with you.
Oh yeah, talk about taking your song title literally. That is Hillsburn with Get High, looking great there, and sounding like a cross between the Flaming Lips and the New Pornographers. The song is from their brand new album, Slipping Away. Get High by Hillsburn is the tune that you need to add to your bucket list playlist for this week. I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music. Dream big, and I'll check in with you again next week.
Coming up, an intimate look inside Royal Columbian Hospital's intensive care unit at the pandemic patients and the people who care for them. Welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. You know, even with the COVID case numbers falling, it's clear that the fight is far from over. You know, when you enter any of Fraser Health's hospitals. Well, Belle Puri and Christian Amundsen got a look inside Royal Columbian Hospital's ICU, where there's another crisis emerging that will very likely outlast the pandemic.
It's a relentless frontline fight. The battle against COVID, a virus doctors and nurses call the beast. Each room is a maze of machines and medical equipment.
It's going to give you a suction down your breathing tube here, Jeremy. Might make you cough.
Jeremy Johnson hasn't been able to breathe on his own for 47 days, even though he no longer has COVID.
It's all the side effects from COVID is what he's now dealing with. So he makes baby steps, and then he takes like 3 steps back.
Inserting tubes in patients' airways or intubating comes with uncertainties.
The risks and benefits for some of these procedures is developing other infections. Trying to save someone's life, there's always those risks and benefits. So he's still quite sick. He's still in septic shock.
ICU staff are the closest to the pressure and the risk.
I think we have to really trust in what we do for our personal protective equipment, our PPE. We're fitted with N95 respirators. Most recently, we have reusable ones that help keep the virus out of our bodies. But exposure is always a risk. It's a risk of the job.
The emotional stress is exhausting.
And as we donned what I call the mask of COVID-19, there was this vaguely dehumanizing effect that happened. I could no longer read my colleagues' faces. I could no longer sense their emotion when they were feeling overwhelmed or nervous or needed backup, as we always have been able to read each other. We've gotten very good at reading each other's eyes. We look into them deeply and they tell a story.
It's a story about the breaking point. Royal Columbian Hospital has 16 ICU beds, but averaged 42 patients at a time during COVID at its worst.
I end up working 20 out of 31 days, that's a lot more than what the average. You typically work between 12 and 14 shifts in a month.
It's a story about the heartache. Until this week, there were no visitors in the ICU, not even during end of life. This experience with one patient and his wife isn't unique.
My picture was a small little face in the corner of the screen, and while she was on the FaceTime call, and she was crying her eyes out and reminding him of their wedding day and their little kids and how she will protect them. And you know, as we took him off life support, and you know, his heart rate slowly started to drop down and his blood pressure started to fade away, and it was me that was holding his hand, and as a family we're just sitting on a square screen, and that's cruel to be a part of that in person, but we were the closest people that could provide that care and that touch at that moment.
A lot of recovery is yet to come.
How the healthcare workers are doing through this and how they recover. I'm concerned for, some of their mental health, and I'm concerned for their burnout.
RCH isn't the only COVID center in the region, but it's the only one equipped with heart-lung bypass machines for patients who can't breathe at all, not even with a ventilator. The sickest of the sick COVID patients in the region come to this ICU. In the first and second wave, those patients were mostly in their 80s and 90s. In the third wave, the average age is considerably younger.
Poor guy.
Jeremy Johnson is 44. He spent his birthday here alone and heavily sedated. Only last week, his wife and their boys were able to visit for the first time since April 21st.
But it was nice to let him feel our touch. So, and let him hear my voice next to him instead of being on a FaceTime.
Rika Johnson is actually a nurse at RCH, but on leave.
COVID Blue Healthcare Center, ICU, bed 16. Code Blue Healthcare Center, ICU, bed 16.
Because when this happens, it's just too much.
That's not his bed, but still that.
Jeremy is in bed 8.
Hi Jeremy, it's Serafina from Respiratory. I'm just going to take a listen to your breathing here.
It continues to be a long haul for Jeremy and those who care for him.
It started out as fear because you don't know, and then exhaustion, and then there'd be frustration because it wasn't going away. And then there was also times of like uplift, like the 7 p.m. cheer. That helped. That kept us going.
What also keeps them going is behind every COVID statistic, there's a name and a story. Belle Puri, CBC News, New Westminster.
More than 1,700 British Columbians have died of COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic. One of them was a renowned pediatrician in Richmond who dedicated his life to helping kids and families in need. As John Hernandez reports, his loved ones are remembering the many lives that he touched.
Whether it was cracking dad jokes or performing magic tricks, Jack Bearman could make just about anyone smile.
He really believed in bringing every bit of joy and fun you could out of every day, and I think that kids had that too.
Bearman was a beloved pediatrician in Richmond who died of COVID-19 last summer. He would have turned 68 just a handful of days ago. The date, a chance for his wife Cindy to reflect.
He had this most amazing kind of joie de vivre, like zest for life. And he had a great smile and a great sense of humor and told horrible jokes.
Bearman was born in South Africa. An avid traveler, he left the country behind during the height of the apartheid years.
It was just a moral choice to not be in a country where that was going on.
He came to Canada to practice medicine, settling in Richmond and starting a family. It's where he began to leave his mark in the field of child health. Among his crowning achievements, overseeing the development of a youth health center, which drastically expanded treatment options for families.
He really advocated for pediatrics here in Richmond, BC, and his special interest was really children with autism and children with ADHD and other developmental and behavioral concerns. And he really helped out many, many families over many years.
Last spring, Bearman contracted COVID-19. He fought the virus for more than 100 days.
It was a roller coaster until probably mid-July, yeah. And then it became very clear that he wasn't going to survive.
He spent his last months in the same hospital he worked and retired from. During that time, he even got to attend his son's wedding, which was held inside a hospital boardroom.
I think he was really happy to be there, but he was really done.
Instead of celebrating his birthday, his family is now writing his gravestone.
The middle line will be a friend to every child.
Bearman leaves behind a wife, 3 kids, and countless smiles. John Hernandez, CBC News, Richmond.
Well, the family of a Quesnel tree planter who died of COVID-19 believe that he got infected on the job. As Yvette Brand explains, it was a tragic death for a man who'd planned to live to be 100.
Jerry Cruzel was a fixture in Quesnel, BC. At 79, he was still a formidable tree planter.
Someone actually told me he probably planted about 12 million trees in his life. He's been planting trees since he was 13 years old in the Czech Republic and in forestry cadet. So it's very possible he's planted millions of trees out there.
Long before Cruzel came to BC, he was slated to train the Czechoslovakian judo team. Then he fled as the Soviets invaded in 1968.
Growing up, when I was in my maybe 8 years old to 12 or so, we used to do a lot of play wrestling together too, and he would always use judo moves. I'm pretty sure he tried to teach me how to do things, but I just enjoyed just flying around half the times.
Cruzel ate organic, stayed fit, but he did not get vaccinated, and he began to get weak after a COVID exposure.
Trying to push him to go to the hospital, get tested first off, call 811. I have a really bad feeling about this.
She says her father was stubborn and wanted to fight the virus at home.
My dad just was the elderly person that got infected. He was right there. I'm pretty sure he got infected when they were riding on a truck together or something within proximity. So I would have definitely wanted to change that.
But she says his memory will survive in all the trees he planted and the people whose lives he touched. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Vancouver.
Coming up, the story of a Vancouver music studio, mysterious radio interference, and a cell phone tower. Hi, welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, one of Vancouver's most iconic recording studios has been plagued with unexplained radio interference, and it's caused the company to lose time and money and potentially their reputation. As Joel Ballard reports, the company has been sent on a wild goose chase to determine the cause.
From underneath the trees, we watch the sky.
Vancouver's Armory Studios is used to hosting big international artists, but lately, mysterious radio interference is putting all of that at risk.
We noticed that there was some high-frequency interference in the microphones in some of them.
But the team has no idea where it's coming from. This was back in December. The sound is still ongoing.
We've already lost money. We're already paying a lot more tech, for Corey and my time, and it's wasted time in sessions, and we've even lost a session.
A noisy recording studio can be the kiss of death.
You have people that are very, very talented, very exacting, very demanding. If they hear a noise in here, they're going to walk.
So the team at Armory began to investigate the interference. They believe they were able to pinpoint the problem to cell phone towers on a building next door owned by Rogers. Rogers denies that their equipment is at fault, but has worked with Armory to try and fix the problem.
The organization of ISCD, the governing body for this, asked Rogers to do a shutdown of their towers, and I was here, and when they shut it down, it's completely quiet.
The noise disappeared, something that was acknowledged in an email by a Rogers employee investigating the problem. Once the towers were back on, the sound returned. But ultimately, both Rogers and the ISCD determined that the cell towers are operating within their licensed levels, and the root of the issue is unclear. An email from a Rogers investigator raises several possibilities, including someone in the neighborhood using an illegal cell signal booster. In a different email, a member of ISCD wrote, "It's up to the studio to fix the problem."
Absolutely. We have a world brand that we rely on, and that's quality. It's put a lot of stress on me.
Still, Rogers denies any responsibility. But after the CBC reached out to the telecom, it decided to hire a technician to come and investigate the problem. The team at Armory is just hopeful that it will finally get some answers, so they can get back to doing what they love. Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
Ottawa recently imposed heavy tariffs on furniture imported from China and Vietnam to help Canadian manufacturers. So it was supposed to stop the flood of cheap products undercutting domestic goods. Jacqueline Hansen explains how a move meant to level the playing field is leading to a bit of sticker shock.
At this furniture store in Victoria, BC, the recent price jump is staggering. This $2,000 couch is now $6,000.
This is going to have a huge effect on our business.
Half the upholstered couches and chairs sold here are imported from China and Vietnam and are now subject to a new tariff of up to 300%.
I've canceled almost 35 containers of product coming until the end of the year. That's $1 million of sales.
The tariff is in response to a complaint filed by Manitoba-based furniture producer Palliser. It claims that government-subsidized producers in China and Vietnam are selling furniture in Canada for far under market value. Palliser says the imports have caused injury and are threatening to cause further injury to the Canadian industry. The timing isn't a surprise to this trade lawyer.
Is if you know that under both President Trump and President Biden that they're also targeting that particular industry, why not to see what Canada would do if you make the same complaint here.
But in the U.S., tariffs on furniture from China have been somewhat easier to swallow, first 10, then 25%.
We would love to absorb the cost, but we can't pay for people to take product. I mean, it's not good business to do that.
No.
Ottawa-based LD Shop spells out the impact for its Canadian customers. What was its bestseller now comes with a tariff that costs almost as much as the chair itself.
The legislative intent in this specific case was really good, but I think in this case, it didn't protect the entire supply chain.
But some local manufacturers support it.
It's justified, maybe 10 years too late.
This owner says it finally recognizes Canadian furniture makers are being undercut and simply can't compete.
How is it that a piece of furniture can arrive in Canada for less than just our raw material cost is? And we're only asking for it to be fair. That's all.
The Canada Border Services Agency is still investigating. A decision on whether or not these tariffs are permanent will follow. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, as we saw during the January attack on the U.S. Capitol, video evidence of violent events can be found everywhere these days, including on social media. And back in 1994, during Vancouver's first Stanley Cup riot, police poured through videotape in an attempt to identify suspects. Alan Edwards brought us that story.
Vancouver police investigators are viewing videotaped riot scenes taken by fellow officers, news crews, and citizens. In the past week, police have been deluged with information from members of the public, turning in lawbreakers who they recognize from watching televised news programs.
We're getting school teachers, school principals, social workers, family members, and friends. Everybody wants to support this whole effort, and people are really disgusted by what went on, and they want to see these people brought to justice.
Police have isolated pictures of 75 individuals seen on videotape committing assaults, vandalism, break-ins, and theft. They plan to make photographs taken from the videotape public.
What we're actually creating is a non-linear based database of all of the information, so I can instantaneously call up descriptions of people, locations, or crimes, and then we will just see all of the shots, all of the incidences that occurred at that intersection, so we can cross-reference crimes and people and locations very quickly.
Police hope the public will continue to help them identify individuals involved in criminal activity. They also hope to identify the many citizens who prevented crimes from being committed, so they can receive special commendations.
We're seeing over and over again that people were trying to prevent people from breaking into places, giving medical assistance to people, trying to break up fights, etc. What we want to do is use this tape not only to identify the criminals, but to identify those people who were actively trying to stop others from committing crimes.
Police say there were hundreds of citizens with home video cameras out on the streets during the riot, and that tape is proving to be invaluable in identifying both the criminals and the Good Samaritans. Alan Edwards, CBC News, Vancouver.
When we bring you the day's stories here at CBC Vancouver, award-winning staff photographer Ben Nelms is often there to capture the images that say so much. Here are some of the scenes he saw through his camera lens this week. And that's all for our Vancouver for this week. I do hope you can join me weekday afternoons on CBC Radio 1 for On the Coast. But goodbye for now.